What's up, guys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to Real Short Talks with Ryan, where today we're answering the question, how do we do evangelism? We've been talking about this for 5 weeks now, the who, what, when, where, and now the how of evangelism. Okay, so I just want to give you a few kind of wrap-up thoughts from the Apostle Paul in the book of Colossians chapter 4. All right, chapter 4 starting in verse 2. We're going to go through verse 6. As always, look this up for yourselves, read it for yourselves. If you have questions, come and talk to me about it. Now, I also want to preface this and I guess conclude everything else that I've been saying. This is not everything there is to say about evangelism, right? The Bible itself has a lot to say about evangelism. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of different ideas about evangelism. If you have any questions about those, if you want more information, come talk with me. I'd be glad to talk to you about that. But all right, in Colossians chapter 4, verse 2, Paul says, "Continue steadfastly in prayer, being watchful in it with thanksgiving." So the first thing that we need to see about how to do evangelism is pray. If we are not praying, then we're not going to get anything else right. We're going to be devoid of the Spirit's power. We're going to be trying to do it on our own. Evangelism is going to be even more terrifying and harder than it already is. We've got to be praying. The whole thing, our whole lives have to be soaked in prayer. But specifically, Paul says, at the same time, pray also for us, that God may open to us a door for the word, to declare the mystery of Christ, on account of which I am in prison. Paul believes in this stuff. Paul believed in this stuff enough that he was in prison for declaring the gospel. And he says, hey, I want more opportunities. Pray that God would give me more opportunities. Even though those opportunities landed him in prison, he wanted more opportunities. I think he's also telling the church at Colossae, hey, pray for yourself to have more opportunities as well. Those opportunities are going to look different. Paul was a gifted evangelist. The opportunities that God gave him and were giving the people at Colossae were different, but they were no less important. All right, so we pray. We pray specifically for opportunities, a door for the word. As we talked about last week, that when and the where, as we live our lives and people ask us questions, we want to be praying for those opportunities to share the gospel, that I may make it clear, which is how I ought to speak. Number 3, about how to do evangelism. Make it clear. Don't leave people wishy-washy where you kind of make some vague references to God. No, be clear on it. Be clear on what the gospel is. Be clear on what Christ has done for you and what he has done for everybody in the world. Be clear about it. If you need help with that, if you need help, hey, how do I clearly articulate the gospel? Come talk with me. I would love to talk with you more about that. And then he says, walk in wisdom towards outsiders, making the best use of time. So that's the fourth, I think we're on 4. Yeah, the fourth part of how to do evangelism. Walk in wisdom, right? Be a good person. Be a godly person. Don't pursue evil. Pursue what is right. As we talked about last week, make the best use of time. Don't waste those opportunities as they come and as people question. He says, let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, right? Hey, make it useful, seasoned with salt. Salt is useful, right? Make it useful. Take advantage of opportunities, right? It doesn't mean you have to be just jumping down people's throats. It doesn't mean that you're going to be the most bold person in the world that's able to share Jesus on the back of a napkin in a restaurant, but let it be seasoned with salt. Take advantage of those opportunities. Talk about spiritual things. Talk about godly things. Lead the conversation that way if there's an opening. Okay, that's what Paul is saying here, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. The answer that each person needs is the gospel. Figure out ways, learn ways. And I know you're like, well, I thought you were going to teach me ways. That's beyond this video. Learn ways that you can steer the conversation to spiritual things. And from those spiritual things, we can begin to talk about the gospel. We can begin to talk about the good news that is Jesus. All right, so pray. Pray for opportunities. Use your words. Be clear on the gospel. Live your life well before outsiders. Be a witness of what the love of God can do to change a person's life, and be ready to talk with those people. Be ready to give an answer for the hope that you have. Be ready to tell them the good news about Jesus. That's how you do evangelism. Thanks for joining us this week. Until we see you next time, glorify His name.